All right, okay, sure. Okay, so we'll make a start. So thanks everyone. So I know, like, it's probably like here it's like, a lot of rain. So we had some technical issues. So we'll make a start, right? And so today, we're going to. Okay. So we're going to cover about industry awareness, right? So it's a very challenging topic, right? I am not here kind of like, to be honest, like, give you kind like, it's not able to predict like, what's industry is happening, how it's next 3 months, what will happen, like, January, when it comes to January, what will be the next big things, things are changing, evolving really fast, right? So, so what we are trying to cover is, over the years, I have seen a recipe, like, which is working, and probably I'll let you know that recipe, and that is a successful formula, right? I have seen it's working fine, and it has worked fine. When we were at university, we were undergraduate at science faculty, and we were doing computer science. Like when it close to the time where we will be uh, getting out from the university, we had the same kind of like feeling, right? So what's happening, are we learning the correct thing, like, so we are at Peradine, a little far away from Colombo, where things are happening, like, so there are a lot of other universities close to Colombo. So like, are we missing it out, like, so those are very good questions to have, and very good insecurity to have as well, right? So we'll make a start with like, like, so what are the various tracks we have in industry, right? So basically, I assume that, when you guys start, coming out from your completing your degree, and when you have a couple of options, right? So very high level, some of you will become software developers, right? So that is probably, where majority of will go in, and and then there will be certain few people who will go into the quality assurance track, right? They might feel like, I'm not good at coding, right? So probably, coding is not good, like, I like, got a lot of help for my practicals as well, and then, probably, it's not for me, I'll move into the QA track, right? So I have a bad news for you guys, like, maybe 10 years back, that might be a valid option, but now the QA, quality assurance, as a kind of like the standard role is kind of diminishing, right? So these days, the industry is looking for some people like software development engineer in test, right? It's called SDET, right? So these guys has to know somewhat of coding, how things are happening. So there's a certain expectations that, they will be little more technical or into code savvy than, 5 or 10 years back, right? So like, my advice is, in touch with your code, right? And put some effort, take some time, and you will able to get it done, right? So we all kind of struggle, right? So again, some of you will move into DevOps. So like, so I know that, we have done this training. So this is regardless whether you are going to software development, SDET, or DevOps, you should have a general understanding of, how DevOps is working, the tool stack, the what do you call it, story behind that. And so those are important, right? So those will come to help you, and very small percentage of you will go and, try to become business analytics, the database administrators. Some will be, project managers, and, some other categories, right? So initially, I think, the first year, like, it will be very less, right? Probably BAs, right? Someone with very, so example, if you want to be a, you have to have a very good strong English, right? And ability to communicate with people, like, not be very shy, and also you have to be able to talk, and, so, and you should have an understanding of, how a product is developed, and, know how, then obviously, that's a good field, right? So very high level, those are the opportunities we have. And so software developer side, it's mainly, there will be a certain set of people going with Java and .NET, and then we have something called no code, low code, right? So idea is that, even the Java, .NET, and other regular things are dying out, right? Because it's need time, right? So we have to spend upfront, a lot of time to build software, and with this competitive world, everyone wants to drag and drop and, develop things, and so we are kind of getting into no code solution, right? Or very less code, right? So few of the things are Salesforce, right? And then ServiceNow, right? And then out system like Pega, right? Pega is a like very strong field. Like there are a lot of people who qualified Pega, and then there are opportunities not only in Sri Lanka, outside as well, right? So this is a key thing, right? So basically. There's lot of there's lot of like demand for this no code low code, right? So that's be mindful that, right? And with that like so now we will check like what else like happening here, right? So basically now there's a very serious like thought about being a full stack developer, right? So people who are good at kind of like a entire stack from front end to back end, right? So basically when we say front end, it's about HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, Angular. So those are kind of like non tech stack in front end. And we have backends like Java, .NET, PHP, Python, Ruby. So there are people I have seen that who's are kind of like very solid uh, the full stack engineers. But but you have to understand that it's sometimes little hard. It's not easy, right? And it's like you're going to play 3 or 4 people's job in organization, right? So and still like it's a very good way, like you will have a holistic view. It has lot of opportunities. So that's something you can think, right? And there are some stacks, right? So example, if you are going with PHP, we have the lamp, ASP doc snat, and we sometimes call mean. It's like MongoDB, express.js, Angular, node.js. We have this again React, node.js, and the other variations, Ruby Rails, Python, Java stack, based on microservices, Spring Boot, serverless, right? So world is so everything on top is like more of like a server base, right? So you have to have infrastructure, right? So we discuss about Java, the AWS Lambda, and those things. So serverless is a major kind of like field, right? There's a so much demand for this area as well, right? So these are somewhere like probably I would have missed few things as well, but this is where kind of like things are happening, right? So next, what I want to tell you is that so this is kind of like very same thing I have touched upon. So what are the typical job roles in this industry, right? So when I was coming out, I was not aware of like most of these roles, right? I was thinking, okay, if I can be a software engineer, great, right? So some reason I was lucky. One of our like staff member, like now he's a doctor. So probably I don't know whether you heard him, Doctor. Uh, Kosalayapa Bandara, like he was giving lectures. Like he was kind of like a one of the first person who completed the degree, and he moved into industry. So he actually was working at Virtusa, and then again he came back to the faculty, right? So he brought a lot of fresh like ideas, right? So we were kind of, it was the first time I heard someone that he was saying, okay, like we have the architecture. He was thinking like web development. We have like JavaScript, so the JSPs and all those things. So it was kind of like something new to us, right? At that time, like so it's like long time back, right? So I can remember at that time we only had the Saluka sir was the only like the person, right? So he probably it's around the same time he would have come back as well. And the faculty was running with very low staff, and Saluka was single-handedly, the professor was running the show. And it was tough, right? So we didn't know much, right? So probably one thing I want you to understand is that there like there are so much opportunities, right? So probably this is not aligned to all the companies, but generally Sri Lanka outside we are kind of going with the same thing, right? So probably you will start as associate engineer, associate consultant, and then senior consultant. Sorry about this typo. And then lead consultant, you will be associate manager or associate architect, engineering architect, and you can go and become a systems engineering manager, senior system engineering manager, principal engineer. So it's all the way up to be a vice president, right? And then after that, CTO, CXO, CEO. So this is kind of like very like so it's a big ladder, right? So one thing I want to understand is that, so once you come, so like, once you completed the degree, that is done, right? Regardless whether how good you completed the degree, it will depend on when you go to that interview, are you able to face the interview correctly, right? So I don't want to bring down anything, but it doesn't matter, right? You have a first class, right? If you can't face the interview, you will be as good as someone who got a just pass. Doesn't mean that, I'm selling that, you should not try for first class, right? You should definitely try for first class, because first thing is that whatever you do, you should be try to achieve the best, right? Because if you think that if you are not achieving the best, some levels, then in future you will also not push yourself to achieve that, right? So you should definitely go for first class, right? And so I had a friend, right, who is now a professor at one of the universities in US. 2 years into the degree, he had a target, like he has to get a minus or a flow all the subjects for the remaining 2 years to get a first class, right? 3.71 or something. And he make a decision, I'm going to really put effort, and he actually got the first class, right? So that it's doable, right? You put your mind thought, and it's very doable, right? So sometimes, whether you will start as a associate engineer will depend on how good you face the interview, right? So be mindful that, it's about marketing yourself, right? So you have to understand you are a fresh graduate, right? So when you are creating a CV, so CV is two type, right? Experience driven CV, right? And skill driven CV, right? So you guys probably don't have that experience now, so you have to make sure that your CV experience comes out, right? And somehow skill comes out, and somehow you tag the experience to it, right? So that's the challenge, right? So why I want to show you this is, I want all of you to, dream big, right? So basically, I'll tell you my background, right? So when I came out from university, because of I only heard that, probably the best someone can go is kind of be an architect, right? So probably I it took me around 7 years to become architect. Then after that, it's kind of I felt like, I have achieved that target, and then I kind of had a, you know uh, it was not bigger dream, right? So I am telling you now that, dream big, right? I don't want you guys to be an architect, right? I want you guys to be CTOs, like chief technical officers. Like I want you guys to be CEOs. I want you guys to be a entrepreneurs, right? Start your own companies, right? So it's not about, just trying to be I'm coming from this certain family background, like I need a job, and I will have that financial issues. We all went through that, right? So I'm here to tell you that everything will be fine, right? But dream big, right? So you big the biggest dream possible, right? They say that, shoot to the moon, right? Or the star, right? And then you will land somewhere, right? But if I go back, if you start thinking, I will be an architect, like probably you'll ended up with somewhere here, right? But if you start thinking like, I'll be a CTO, probably you will come to here, right? And one other thing I want to tell you is that today's industry is very fast driven, right? Someone who is joining industry now can have the ability to achieve what we have achieved in half a time, right? So even we have the opportunity, right? If I see one of my seniors have achieved something in 25 years, probably next 2 3 years I can give a try, right? So everyone has this, same opportunity, right? So you can become an architect now, probably 6 years, 6 years, or even 5 years, if you are really smart, right? So dream big, right? And don't think about this immediate, like how I'm going to get this job, but it's incremental, right? First you get your first job, and you get the promotion, you climb the ladder, but dream big, right? Don't ever stop and think that, it's all about, go to the highest place, right? And be a company owners, right? Be entrepreneurs, have a startup, new ideas, right? So that is where I think we want you guys to be, right? And the next thing I want to tell you is that, see, if I look at my batchmates, right, who completed the not only computer science degree, but any other subject in Peradeniya University, are in good place, right? I can guarantee you when it comes to science faculty, right? So I have seen like, like probably in my batch, more than 50 people are PhD people, and they are all nicely settled down in either US, mostly in US and Australia or New Zealand, right? And almost everyone who did the computer science, first class, probably I think except for a couple of people, all are also abroad, have a good life. And everyone else, either Sri Lanka or abroad, are doing really good, right? And these are not the people that who kind of like got the first class, or who got a first upper, or did the computer science special, right? Even everyone, like, so I know a guy, right, who was one of my friend. He didn't do computer science at Peradun University, right? When you are in my faculty, he was not doing that. But and he was like wasting time, right? And all the time I see like pardon me, but half drunk, or somewhere doing fancy thing, right? But last year I cleared, I somehow, someone gave me a, what do you call this, we used to have this uncertified Java exam. Someone gave me a uncertified Java exam book. It's a big book, right? 600 pages or something. Some reason it was with me, and I didn't refer much. But this guy came to me and said, "Okay, Indika, I have seen you have that book. Can you borrow me?" I say, "Yes, please. You take it." Right, I'm not preferring much. You take it, right? So he took me. I haven't seen him for after some time, but after 3 months, he came and said, "Hey, I refer that programming is really great, right? I created a game." So the game was like this ping pong game, right? So you have this screen. So example, if this is the wall, you have a ball, and you have the space bar, right? So he will move the space bar, ball is going, and so that is the first program he did, right? So then I told him that that is fancy, right? That is superb, right? So probably why not you do the sun certified exam, right? So he did the sun certified exam, and then he went to his first kind of like the job interview, right? And he told them that see, I don't know, like probably like you have all the theory parts and everything, but I have created this game, right? Do you want to show? It's in my pen drive, right? So they have seen, they have interested, then like rest is history, right? So he has been in US, he's been leading architect, like so there's so much opportunities, right? So I can safely assure you that you guys, every one of you will be fine in your life, right? But just that dream big and work hard, right? So I was thinking, right, when I have to do this session, so if I'm in your, like, if I have to travel back, right, and if I have to travel back, I'm in your situation, what would I tell myself? Right, because I have now some experience, I have seen it. So how, what would I tell my undergraduate self about industry and how to prepare, right? So first thing I would say is like learn the basic, right? So when I was at university, I was also very nervous, like I was thinking, probably I'm not learning, what are the things important, right? Probably industry is far ahead, like other universities must be far ahead, I must be a little far behind. So we had this doubt, right? So, but some reason or other, we give kind of importance to all the subjects, and we learn, we enjoy the programming, right? So basically, important thing is over the periods of time, I feel like every subject I learn in the university is very important, right? Even the networking, right? So networking is kind of like the most boring subject, right? So that's a like very important, right? And AI now, right? Even after long time now, AI is also kind of very important, right? So everything, like you name any, so algorithms, like so people thinks that it's about only programming, Java, object-oriented concepts, or like any. So even like everything, databases, networking, software engineering, you have the what do you call this, data structures, right? Every subject is very important, right? It's not about being ready for the what's industries, what is in the technology stack is in the industry, but it's about are you good at your foundation, right? Because I told you, right? So when you go to your first job, they are not going to check whether you know Node.js, I mean, they will ask you, but so assume that we did a very good course about this DevOps, and probably some of you knows Kubernetes, right? So now in the industry, when you go and tell that you have done Kubernetes, they will ask you, have you managed the production cluster, right? So unless you have managed the production cluster, it's good, right? We will get you as a guy, but it's not proven yet. right? So your CV is not a experience driven CV, it's a skill driven CV, right? So skill is your foundation, right? People will ask questions about your foundation skill, right? People will ask questions about your database knowledge, right? Do you still remember the normalization, right? And what the like all those. So we see, if you are weak at your basics, how are you going to do the fancy other cutting edge things, right? No, right? So put some focus, learn the basics, right? So so one thing I have done before my interviews is I actually create a short notes of all the important subjects. I took 2 weeks and read, right? So I got actually, so I was lucky, like our final exams are supposed to be at May, right, in that year. But some reason, we have some interviews around February, and that interviews they check about the foundations and all those things, so we got even hired, right, even before we sat our final exam, right? So basic is very important, right? So be mindful that, right? Next one is that, gain real world experience, right? When you go there, like every other university, people will come with the skill, right? But figure out, can you put some experience behind, like say that, I have done a fancy project. So when I'm interviewing a person, someone, who's starting fresh, I always ask about, what is your final year project, right? And if they say that, I did something, right, okay, I can't remember, like, it's something like, that's a definitely no, right? So you ask me, what is my final year project, can't remember A to Z, but I can still talk you for 30 minutes, right? You ask me about my third year project, it's a VB.NET project, and I'll tell you everything, right? If you ask me any other assignment, I still remember, right? So you had to remember, right? If you say that I can't remember, then I don't know, right? Personally for me, that's a definitely red flag, right? And you should use other opportunities, right? Now we have asked you to do some assignment, like, this car rental system, you don't have the code, don't have to code, but you can play around the code. You plan that as a project exam. If someone asks you, I did the final year project, I did the second year project, I did this awesome DevOps project. It was a code. So don't lie around, right? You say, like, it's also good, we use it, but we deployed into Kubernetes, and we started this. So those are the experience, right? So unless you are kind of like part-time working or doing internship, you know figure out ways to do projects and get the hands-on experience, right? So so that is a very important thing, right? And one important thing I missed, right? So example, if you ask me, I don't have a good Git repo, right? My Git is like, empty. So I don't have any projects, because over the years I have never thought, like, it is important. So I kind of like, lost my final year project, and over the years all the projects. So I'm little weak at Git, right? But you should have a Git repo now, right? All the projects you are putting, you should upload to Git, right? So let it grow over the years, after 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, to 115 projects, like 150 projects. That, see, if you go out now these days, it's, see, you send a CV, right? We are interviewing for 30 minutes to 1 hour. How do we know you are good, right? So we will go and check your Git, right? We will go and check your LinkedIn profile, right? So have a good Git repository, right? Put everything in Git, right? And do projects, right? Do some hands-on projects, improve your skill, right? That is very important. Next one is, we connect with, people in the industry, right? You have your LinkedIn profile. If you don't have, spend time, create a LinkedIn profile, and start adding people, right? Understand what they are doing, right? So you don't have to ask someone what's happening, probably you will get a feeling what's happening in the industry. And what are the why people are doing certificates, what certificates needed. So, like, so that is the value, right? So so you in after some time you will realize networking is an important part of life, right? You should have some networking contacts, right? So so have a good LinkedIn profile, like, start adding people, get some recommendations, right? And like, so do those things, right? So, and I can remember that, when I was university, we were little lucky at that time. There was a one central computer lab start, right? So they hired, they allowed undergraduates to apply for assistant lab instructor role, right? It's from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. at night, right? So you have a roster, and 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. you have to be there. You go. So what we basically go is we go, and then we have a machine, and we will sit. We will help people with USB pen drives to, like, every entire university, the Peradini students are coming, right? Word and other things, and other than that, we will start using internet and browsing and doing everything, right? At night we'll have to shut down like 100 200 lab the machines, ensure UPS are shut down, and take that, close the lab and give the key to marshals, right? So we learn a lot, and and they only paid us 10 rupees per hour, right? So that is like 40 rupees per day, right? After 5, right? 5 to 10, right? So if you go and see in my LinkedIn profile, I have still put that, right? Because after that we got a World Bank project, and we the same instructors were selected to do a training to art faculty students, right? So when I went to my first job and I talk about it, they were very impressed, right? I was having some things, right? So look at opportunities, right? And other thing is like, so internet was very important, right? So we learn a lot of things by internet, right? So you guys have access to internet, and and now we have chat gpt, right? So you can like, get all the knowledge, right? Everything you want, you can get it from chat gpt, right? Learn chat gpt, right? And that will change your life, right? So this is important. Other one is that, understand what is your passion, right? So understand that, not all of you can't be a good software developers, not all of you will, and you will be QA engineers, right? Not all of you will be BAs, right? There will be some passion, right? So if you don't like software development, that is fine, right? You probably have a different skill in this area, you will be a great BA, or you will be a great database administrator, or you will be a security guy, right? So you will be a security expert, right? There's like, uh, so everyone has their passion and the what they like to do, right? Figure that out and go and make big, right? So there's nothing that, you have to be kind of like, but basics are very important, right? So you have the basics, foundation, then after that, figure out what is important for you, what do you like to do, right? So follow your passion is very important, right? If you don't like coding, give a effort, right? Can you still get your like, be a little passionate, but otherwise then move on, right? So there are interesting field in tech industry where, you don't have to crack your head, right? But if you don't like, and see, even the project management is a art, right? So you are kind of people like, you are like community, you are able to work with people, right? So then you can make big, right? So one of the most other important thing is your soft skill, right? I'll guarantee you, you will not have a you will not climb your career ladder unless you are able to speak, right? When you go in, when you are in industry, you have to talk, right? I mean, silent people, I mean, assume that you are superstar, you don't talk much, but you will reach somewhere, but you will not reach to the where you want to be, right? So you have to start talking, and it's not English, right? So it's not about, it can be still be broken English, right? It can be still, as long as other person understand, it's fine. It's about ability to talk, right? So when sometimes, not every day, but sometimes when I'm interviewing people, I ask them, like, I gave them some scenarios, right? I'm telling them that, you are architect, right? You're not a IT sector architect, but you are architect who design homes, right? I have a land, right? And I come to you to build a home. Ask me questions, right? Some people say, do you want a home? Yeah, I said home. Bedroom, like four bedroom, and okay, or it's a okay, then bathroom too, right? That gives the idea that that guy is not a, there are no ideas, right? So it's an endless question, right? You should ask, where is your land, what is the size of the land, what type of house you want to build, are you kind of like a want kind of the like the what do you call sunlight guy, how many floors, sorry, how many rooms, what's the color, it's a modern architect, like, you can go on for 1 hour, right? Unless other person say, because, stop it, that's fine, I got it, right? So that you had to be that kind of a person, right? You had to able to talk, express yourself, right? So if you see now, right, regardless, see, I am not a person who's very talkative, right? I don't talk like, in university. I was a little bit of silent. I had my circle, like, but friends with everyone. But I'm not a guy like who will be in front of the what do you call this, like, all those societies and doing great and all. But some reason, like, I learn that, it is required, right? I can talk now, right? I don't like, if you gave me 3 or 4 hours even, I will still talk, right? Even I'll talk rubbish, right? So in my mind, I'm telling people that no, vachal is fine, right? But silent is the killer. Don't be a silent guy, right? I mean, you talk something, that's fine, right? So I tell you that, that guy, like, who's kind of a professor, who was who got that first class, and who was my like, roommate, like. So like, he got us to a hackathon conducted by a company like, Xenid at that time. Like, it's a mobile game competition, right? So we went to Peradine to Colombo. So we took the bus and we went there, and at that time, like, his name is Sampath Jayaratne, so he's a professor now. He was like, Sahan, like, he was the president of the computer society at that time. Because he's the president, I didn't do anything, right? We get all the free things from him. And we just went there, give the support and all, let him, take the burden, right? uh, so, but he has the vision, right? So he told, like, so two of us, right, went there. So he said Indika, and then other one is Kumara. Indika, Kumara, our nicknames and all. So when we go there, like, they will give us a speech about this hackathon. And then after that, they will ask us, there's a question in time, and we had to ask questions, right? So I'll ask the first question, and then repeat, let just check whether someone else will ask the question. If not, you just raise the hand and ask, right? After, so said, okay, what we going to ask? Okay, write a question in a paper, right? And keep it, right? At that time you ask a question. It's about, anything, right? It's about telling them, just tell that, this is, my name is this, I'm from Peradini. So they will remember us, right? And after that, he said, you go and talk to these guys, right? Tell me how is the industry, how, and like, he pushed everywhere. He pushed two of us, right? So he's also a very good guy, right? Who can talk, and who can talk any place. But he really pushed us, right? You guys need someone to push, right? I got my first push from him, right? He was really pushing me, right? I can remember he wrote down the question I should ask in the piece of paper. I was thinking, like, in this first, like, with all those people, I should raise hand and ask a question, but he asked, right? So, like, he's a true leader, right? Like, so they said, like, it's a question time. He asked, I'm Sampath Jayaratne, I'm from Peradeniya. I have this question, and it's went well. And then after that, there was no question, but then I think I probably asked, then probably others start ask. So, but then we interacting. See, idea is that whoever, see, like, you have to be the first at everything, right? If you are in a meeting, you have to be the first, and you ask the question first, regardless whether it's a stupid question, a good question. People only remember, see, if you are in a conference call, people only remember the people who talk at the first 5 minutes, right? So if you have an authority figure, you'll have to at least come and say, like, hi, good morning, how are you, how's the weather, like, everything. And then, okay, I'll hand it over to these guys to continue, so that you show your presence, right? So the communication is key, right? I can't emphasize much, but it's not about, what's happening in industry. If you can be the good at Angular and all those fancy things, but if you can't communicate properly, you will not go anywhere, right? The second one is, you have to be a good team player, right? So superheroes are very less, right? You had to able to gel with it. So everyone coming from a university, they are good team players, right? So what we are saying is, even if you see that, you will say, okay, that guy, right? That guy always study, right? And he never go do any other extracurricular activity, right? But even that guy is coming from university, he will be a good team player, right? Because I have seen, right? But you have to be very conscious, be very clear that it's a team. This is a team game, right? So it can be 1 or 2 people to 10 member to 100 member team, right? Or 1,000 member team, right? You had to be able to good work good in a team, right? So yesterday, like I was listening to some like commentary, the Indian like this cricket bus um, who is this Asha Bogle was telling, he has asked, one of the chief selectors of the Indian cricket team, right? So how you select a young guy to Indian pool, right? So what are you looking at, right? So he has said, I don't look at, whether he's a good bowler, good batsman, good fielder. Shocking answer. Right? I don't look at it because if someone tells their name to me, that means he must be good at those things, right? Because otherwise we will not hear his name, right? So there's no point we going and watching the match and say whether he's batting well or bowling well, fielding well, right? So what are we looking at? We are checking whether when he's come to the ground, how he's preparing, right? So what is his preparation before the game, right? So how he's feel like if he get out, like if he's a batsman, if he get out for low score, is he still able to cheer out, and celebrate other people's scoring runs, his friends are scoring run, and those are the important things we are checking, right? So you look at even Virat Kohli or like who is this other guy, right? Rohit Sharma gets out, right? But if there are other team members, KL Rahul, like anyone else is scoring, they are so passionate, right? They are the first to jump and cheer for the boundaries, six, like, and they will be the first people to get gutted, disappointed if someone get out, right? So you so see, right? In their passion, right? So it's not about just going and scoring 100. It's about being a good team member. And if you can't be a good team member, I am sorry, you know, you know, you will not go much far, right? That's the honest answer, right? So basically, these things very important. Like learn the basic, gain the real world experience, do as much as projects, hackathons, other projects. Put a good CV, right? Put everything in your CV, right? You had a one good quality CV, right? And then connect with the experienced people, right? And who is in industry, your seniors, have LinkedIn, get those experience. So those are far important than anything else. And then important thing is follow your passion, right? And then soft skill, able to communicate even with broken English, right? Even I'm telling you that my English up to now I'm not fluent, right? Not that my parents speak English at home, right? Like so my first year we had this English session and I was little struggling, right? So luckily, like we put some effort, it came out. And now see, uh, you don't see, again I'm telling you that you don't have to be have like a white color person in English. But even with broken English, if you can communicate, it's good, right? But start communicating, right? Then the broken English guy, it will disappear, right? You will get into fluent English, right? So everyone who's speaking fluent English, one fine day, unless they are coming from really family backgrounds where their native language is English, they have been like all of us, right? So don't worry, right? So those are the key things, right? So embrace challenge, right? Take the challenge, be curious, listen to others, open your mind, right? Uh, and then build meaningful relationships, right? That's very important, right? And work hard, right? So that is very important thing, right? You work really hard, and then you will achieve success, right? So that's very high level, like what I want to tell you. And second part of this session I want to tell you is that I probably like when I was designing this entire DevOps session, I probably you have seen that I was pushing AWS, right? Because I am good at AWS, and I have seen a lot of potential in AWS. Plus, I am kind of a AWS community builder, right? So in the cloud operation area. So like, see, one other thing is that like it was quite. See, only last year I thought that probably I should spend some time become apply to this the AWS community builder program and probably try to be a builder, right? Because I thought that uh, there's a little bit of a spark missing in my career. Right now, I'm not really like there's something missing, right? So I kind of like spend little time, being effort, and getting into this AWS community builder program, and it's a good title to have, right? So I can go and introduce myself saying I'm AWS community builder, right? And this is help you to, like, really learn, right? See, once you become a builder, you will learn much faster, right? And you become start sharing your knowledge, right? And you will automatically start growing, right? And I'm not a star, but if you want to be a star, this is your opportunity, right? And if you don't have to have 1 year, 2 year, 10 year, 20 year experience to be a AWS community builder, but if you have the passion, you have the desire to learn, you are able to share things with others, then obviously this is for you, right? So I am advising you, take this step, right? You are early, right? I am telling you this even before you come out from your university. Take time, like, think about this as well, right? So once you kind of like getting into this AWS community builder program, they will ensure that you have the knowledge, they will give you the access to so much of the what you call trainings and the knowledge, the related stuff, so that without much effort, you can able to really like expedite your career, right? So there will be no growth to your boundaries, right? So I'm telling you, right, 4 days back, I did the speakment engagement for AWS community builders, Asia Pacific and Japan region, right? So so there were three of us did the presentation. One guy was from India. He was a civil engineer. He later moved into a tech track, right? Very inspiration. And other guy was from Australia. He had 13 AWS certificate, right? 13 is the, I mean, they only have 13, right? And I mean, you need those things to get yourself inspired, right? And you see what other peoples are doing. They are very genuine people, open to share, like, and naturally even I am getting inspired, right? Even in my career now, like, I that is what you want, right? You want to get inspired every day with people, surround people who are kind of like inspiring, right? So then you will naturally climb this ladder, right? So if you're getting into this program, one thing is that you will obviously get direct connect with AWS, right? They are product teams will work with you. Naturally you will learn all the services and all the new fancy things coming in, right? And then you will be kind of they will ensure that you will become a subject matter expert in some area, right? And you will get a promotional credit, $500, where, like, you will get $500 free to do whatever you want for 1 year, right? You can build, you can experiment, and that is really like, that will go a long way for you to develop yourself, right? And the networking is unbelievable, right? You will start sorry, you will start being in touch with some of the amazing, like, inspiring people that that will actually help you to kind of like go into next level, right? So trust me on that. So basically, now if you ask me, right, so we are new, right? So we are still, like, few months to finish our degree, like, but like, uh, how can we be kind of like, AWS community builder, right? I'm saying in that, if you want to be the chosen one, right? It's a hard program, right? So they probably select only 10 or less than 10% of the people who are applying, right? But if you ask me what is the secret to get selected, even in your situation, right? If you have the hunger to learn and passion to share, and then you will have a very good chance, right? So that's what they are looking, right? So what we have to do immediately, I'm telling you, like, learn AWS, right? So if you don't like AWS, that's fine, but if you have the passion, you think, learn AWS, right? And be a builder, right? Entire this program, the code to cloud, and even the hackathon, like, AWS rush hour, 98 minutes challenge. What I am trying to do is, what we are trying to do as a team is to get you to build. It's not about theoretical knowledge, it's about building, right? You are a builder, right? You have to build, and then that will add value, right? You will only learn if you start building, right? And then once you build something, be a blogger, right? Write a content, right? I probably things I have shared those a few dev.to articles. I told you, like, about dev.to, like if you want to have a dev.to account, first you have to have a git account, create the git account, start creating git reports, apply projects, and those projects you write some articles, right? It doesn't have to be fancy things, right? Whatever small things you learn, you write and you share, right? Some reason I was lucky. I had a blogspot website from early days, right? Because I told you that I was a computer assistant instructor, 5 hours per day. I was in a lab, right? And I had so much time for internet, so I got exposed to this blogspot, right? So blogging, right? So it was within me, right? So I'm telling you, use that, right? You be a blogger, right? Be a YouTuber, right? So why I was pushing you guys to create these videos about the final assignment and upload it. I want that to be your first YouTube video, right? So you will understand that that's art. Like you will learn something, right? So you don't have to do every time like we come and do a live presentation, right? So what if like you create a video, right, and try to put as much as possible. It doesn't matter, right? If it is 5 minutes, fine. If it is 1 minute, fine. If it is 1 hour, that's fine. But give a try, right? Upload something, right? It's hard, right? I want to do myself maybe I'm starting a YouTube channel. I'm starting a like podcast, right? So I have a plan, but even for me it's challenging, right? I'm preaching you, but it's still challenging, right? Look, come out from our comfort zone. Like don't be shy, right? I'm telling you, come out, right? Do those things, right? And be a presenter, right? You learn something. There are so many opportunities outside. If you are in LinkedIn, if you are seeing what things are happening, you can be a presenter even with you what you do now, right? And then you can start sharing, right? So this will, so what AWS looking at is people who are learning, people who are building, people who are sharing that experience with others, right? And then they will pick you, right? So go to this link, right? The search for community builders in Google, and go and register. I want at least 3 or 4 people next year, right? So they will open this for next probably January. Now itself, you can add your email address, and they will notify you. Otherwise, early Jan, just go and look at it. I can guarantee you that it's not only people with 20 years of experience. People is not 15 years. People is 5. People even undergraduates, right? Not many people, but still there's a small percentage who's able to break into this, right? And that will change your career, right? And that will give you a different perspective, right? Because what do you want is you want you are to be known for something, like you will build something, right? So I just want you to think that, right? So I enter this program. I'd be very much happy that if 1 or 2 people, at least one, no, I'm very happy, like at least if few people can be AWS community builder next year. But give a try. If you fail, that's fine. Like apply again, right? They will, and next year after that, right? So you will have a chance, right? So give this, think about this, right? I'm telling you, there's no benefit I'm getting, right? If you if more like it's for you, right? But I can be very happy if I heard someone send me a message saying I became a community builder. I am the happiest, right? Because I want you to be successful. I want my faculty to be successful. I want each and one of you to be very successful people in your life, right? And that benefit is for you, right? All right, okay. So with that, I don't want to take much, time of yours. So any question, anyone? Okay. So this, like, we have around maybe 10 minutes, right? So we can make little bit of interactive, right? Uh, so like anything else you want to know? So probably like, if everything is, come correct, like, this Saturday we'll come and meet you. So probably I'm expecting you to talk, right? Reach out to us, engage with people, like, use this opportunity. Right? So anyone, any questions, anyone? Yeah, guys, that's what I want to tell you. Like, the communication is key. at least you should have one question, right? Just like ask a question just for sake of asking, right? And see, if you go to interviews, so after everything, people ask you, do you have any questions, right? You will have to ask one or two questions, right? Just for sake of it, right? So, and if you can ask some meaningful questions, that's great, right? But be sure that uh, you know the communication is key. Okay, so anyone, any question? Uh, Lakshita, I think we can stop the recording, right?